Hi there. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Linda Reese, Managing Partner of Leader Onboarding, and we're here to talk about the onboarding of new physicians. We all know how exciting it can be to make a great physician hire, and we work hard to make sure they have everything they need to be set up for success and happy in their new role. Despite all the good work we do onboarding our physician hires, we believe that there's more that we can do. Getting new physicians the tools and knowledge they need at the right time is essential and allows them to be more productive faster. They also face hidden challenges, paradoxes that can trip them up. We have good reasons to elevate our onboarding of physicians, everything from return on our hiring investment to delivering high quality patient care and to the engagement and retention of these important hires. I'll be joined today by my valued colleague, Stephanie Henderson, who is our assessment practice leader. Our firm has specialized in the world of onboarding for about 20 years, and we're passionate about ensuring that new physicians are fully set up for success. Offering strong onboarding assistance to new physicians is a win-win proposition. If we do a good job of onboarding them, we'll see productive, committed clinical leadership, physicians who enjoy organizational credibility and support, delivering higher patient satisfaction, and collaborating with strong partnerships across organizational boundaries. Longer term, we see meaningful retention as a return on our onboarding investment. We all want physicians to onboard well, and we try to make their transitions easier for them. We credential them and we have checklists, lots of checklists for learning our technology, our coding, and much more. But there are undercurrents that may be invisible to us and cause risks for our new physicians. Whether or not they have an official leadership role, all physicians lead teams in delivering care, performing surgery, etc. And while they're seen as leaders, they also need to behave as respectful, equal colleagues. We hire them for, among other things, their clinical mastery, and then require their approaches fit within our own best practices. They need to establish technical credibility at the same time we want them to honor our ways of working. And the third paradox is that we may say we want clinical detachment from our providers, but what we really want is professional, emotionally intelligent transitions that respect all stakeholders. These three paradoxes are by no means the only ones new physicians face. In fact, in our book, we identify 8 paradoxes that are common for all transitions. But we focus on these additional paradoxes because they present the greatest challenges for these new hires. We'd like to take a minute to hear from you. Which do you find to be the most challenging paradox? Is it the need to balance being a leader and being a colleague? Or is it finding a happy medium between proving their worth and respecting organizational practices? Or is it being both clinically detached and emotionally intelligent? And it's okay if you're not sure which one is most important in your organization. And if you have experienced another paradox that has greater impact, please put that info in the Q&A section so it can be represented in our poll. And my colleague Joy Hall will tell us what you've said.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. And this looks interesting. Okay. All right, it looks as though the paradox with the highest response rate is clinical mastery versus best system practices. That has about 60%. And the other end, the least challenging seems to be functions like a leader versus behave like a colleague. And then we also have professional detachment versus emotional intelligence at 17%. And we have a handful, about 10%, that say that they don't know. I don't see anything in the Q&A. So Linda, do you have any thoughts on these results?
Well, thank you, Joy. First of all, I think the results are really interesting, and demonstrating clinical mastery versus adopting system best practices is a really important facet of excellent clinical care. Every physician relies on their training to guide their behavior as a practitioner, and training can vary in terms of the best practices and modalities that they learn in their training and throughout their careers. It is really important to have that balance with what our existing best practices within the system, because that creates consistency in care and that improves quality. So we do see this happen a lot. It can be a source of conflict. It can be a source of confusion, and we think it's a good idea to focus on it. That does not minimize the importance of the other two, but this is the one that may have the most practical application in clinical care. We can't just think about onboarding as a nice thing to do. It's insurance protecting our significant investment in each physician hire. There are many factors that contribute to the calculation of a return on investment. And that's everything from search fees and signing bonuses or relocation packages. And then we have the cost of credentialing, training, and marketing these new providers and their practices, and the compensation and benefits package as well. And if the unthinkable were to happen and a hire didn't work out, we have additional costs. That's severance, lost revenue, and perhaps turnover of dissatisfied employees, and then ultimately a fairly significant cost of replacing those physicians. I just add that because most physician employment is contractual in nature, rapid exit for new hires is rare, but retention of a derailed hire can be even worse than them rapid exiting. It's time for another poll, because what you think is important to us. We'd like to take the opportunity to hear from you about ROI. Would you mind please choosing the 3 items below that matter most to you in ROI for physician hires? The cost of turnover if a new hire should leave prematurely, delivery of excellent care, patient satisfaction, how physicians collaborate and team with others, both physician and non-physician alike, quality and safety, the ability to retain high performers, and ramping new hires up as quickly as possible to reduce speed to performance. And then when we have subspecialties with significant shortages, talent acquisition is also a higher priority and a larger preoccupation. If you have an other, we would like to ask that you enter it in the Q&A section. And again, Joy will share your findings with us. Thanks in advance.
All right, I just closed the poll because we had some interesting results. It seems like we have a good amount of, I would say about 74% of the audience is going with retaining high performers. Next, we have delivery and care. That's got about 68%. And then physician collaboration and teamwork is actually ties with quality and safety. So based on that, Linda, what are your thoughts? Is there anything that surprises you?
Not really. And I'd actually like to highlight collaboration and teamwork, because I do think that's how excellent care is delivered. One thing we've seen with physicians that we've worked with is that they have to redefine who their team is. They may have a temporary team in a surgical theater. They could have a scrub tech, they could have a surgical nurse that works with them. Those are colleagues that need to be respected and engaged with and seen as peers, even though they may not ever report to the physician or the area the physician works in. We do think that teamwork among physicians is also very important, but we really urge physicians when they're onboarding into new roles to redefine how they think of who their peers and colleagues are, and to focus on how they can best partner to deliver excellent results. Thank you very much for running the poll, Joy. I'm going to take a moment to hand this conversation off to colleague Stephanie Henderson.
Thank you, Linda. So, wow, what might be done to address your top concerns? So retaining high performers, top most of all, and then other concerns as well. Our applied research over 20 years with clients reveals something that still holds true. For new hires to succeed, stay, and make an impact, they must do well at what we call the big 3. They must acquire the knowledge needed for successful job performance. Everything from understanding performance expectations or historical context to current conditions and plans for the future. Build relationships that contribute to collaboration and teamwork up, down, and across the organization. And finally, acquiring and acting upon feedback about themselves. Feedback related to how they handle their transition, the extent to which they are seen as getting the culture, and much more early enough so that they can course correct. The paradoxes Linda shared earlier play a part in contributing to and understanding how the big three impact new physician success. So let's take a look at how the paradoxes impact the acquisition of knowledge. We all want to share what we know and be certain that those who can use it have taken in that information. Newly placed physicians want to share their knowledge to cement their credibility and provide a foundation for their current and future performance. Colleagues want new folks to be clear on their role and expectations within the organization, navigate the organization's clinical practices, respect the culture and history, and adopt existing technology and processes, and many more, in order to be successful in that new organization. This critical information about the organization is not always readily available or easily accessible. Organizations and colleagues that are intentional about laying out this information support new physician success. New physicians who set out to learn about this early on mitigate missteps and gain allies. For a new physician, sharing clinical knowledge can be a great way to convey physician professionalism. And at the same time, too much severs the human connection necessary to engage patients and colleagues. Forming relationships helps create a solid foundation for performance. Where to start? Relationships with the hiring manager, colleagues, team members, and patients and families. All are crucial to the new physician success. And they are challenging and take time to establish and maintain. Time is something that's in short supply for physicians. Forming relationships and feeling connected early on can help the new physician find the point at which they are functioning like a leader and behaving like a colleague. When trust is built, colleagues can have productive conversations when the way we do things and why we do them seem to conflict with best practices and skills learned by a physician and brought with them into their new role. Leaning on colleagues who understand the culture well can help the physician step into interpersonal challenges that show up with each concerned party during patient care. Some interactions may require a more detached professionalism and others a more engaged interpersonal approach. Feedback from trusted, organizationally savvy sources can help the newly placed physician strike the right balance. Feedback is the pivot point to provide balance between knowledge and relationships. Through hearing from others and integrating the information into their own experiences, a physician can understand the norms of interaction in the organization and with their new colleagues, helping them navigate their transition. Identify how personal clinical mastery can adapt to and inform system practices. This is critical for physician success. And it can also support physicians in finding the right prescription within their new organization for clinical demeanor, balanced with care and engagement with patients and colleagues. Honest, actionable feedback is often difficult to obtain for physicians new in their role. One approach we haven't yet discussed is a structured way of providing feedback from multiple viewpoints early in the new physician's role. Through applied research and validation, we created a tool that demonstrates improved outcomes, LevelSet Physician Leaders. By having access to colleagues' early impressions, physicians new in their role get a clearer view into the organization and expectations. This helps those physicians resolve the paradoxes so they can get up to speed more quickly, make better decisions, engage their team, and collaborate with colleagues. Overall, increase their success and elevate those they work with. Additionally, creating a stickiness because of the collegial bonds. We believe in building internal onboarding expertise and capacity. Administrators, everyone from HR partners to dyad partners, with the right tools and when properly trained, can do an excellent job at providing feedback that physicians can listen to and take action on. When those administrators are your feedback providers, it allows you to manage the process. LevelSet Physician Leaders is a validated tool. Physicians who do well and use the feedback to course correct in a timely manner are significantly more likely to succeed than those who do not. Additionally, our research and experience demonstrate that new physicians experience a window of judgment, that period of time when they are considered new and given the grace to course correct. That window of judgment is pretty unforgiving. LevelSet gives new physicians the information needed during the critical time when the window of judgment is open to surface and fix those hidden problems, therefore protecting your investment. To dive deeper into the value of LevelSet and be able to apply it in your organization, join us for the September LevelSet Physician Leaders Qualification Workshop. Registration for our September workshop is open now, and the registration link has been placed in the chat window. Next week, you will receive a link to the recording of this live event. Please feel free to share it, and a copy of the article, Physicians and Feedback, Why They Don't Just Get or Give It. Now I want to turn it back over to Linda, who will talk more about our research project.
Thank you, Stephanie. Before we move into the Q&A session for this presentation, I'd like to do a little shameless plug and invite you and your organization to participate in phase 2 of Leader Onboarding's Best Practices in Physician Onboarding Applied Research Project. We're targeting launch of this phase in early 2022, and we'll be exploring in an applied setting using survey methodology and some other approaches, how the onboarding experiences of physicians later affect their performance, their retention, and their attitudes about the work they do, their colleagues, and the organization. As a thank you for participating, we'll be sharing the report findings with you, including recommendations for strengthening physician commitment and connectedness. You'll also receive a best practices resource base that will support you in physician onboarding and close any gaps that you discover. Now it's time for your questions. Joy, would you mind sharing questions from our audience?
Sure. Let me get that open. Okay, Linda, I think this one would be for you. It says, thanks for talking about the paradoxes that new doctors face. And it seems that you believe the solution is LevelSet feedback. Why is it that you focus on this tool as the thing that will help most?
Well, first of all, I would say that the other things that we've mentioned earlier in the presentation are highly useful to the transitions that new physicians experience. I think what we're saying is above and beyond that support, we've done a lot of research trying to understand the things that stand in the way of physicians getting feedback that they need to be optimally effective. There are cultural constraints around the profession. There's sort of a healthcare caste system, you know, where certain people are higher in the caste system than others. There's differential power between physicians and the colleagues who might give them feedback. And there are also people who are not comfortable giving or receiving feedback. So we like providing a confidential and anonymous, concise way for those physicians to understand the impact they're having in their transition and all the things they can do to enhance it while they still have the window of opportunity open, the window of judgment. Thank you, Joy.
Great, thank you. Another one, and Linda, I'm going to give this one to you as well. It says you mentioned cost avoidance and ROI to make sure that physicians are successful. What does the cost for the average surgical chief to fail in their job? How much would that cost an organization?
Well, I think the most important thing to understand is that the cost of turnover for physicians varies. You go everything from an internal medicine physician to someone who's a physician leader, or could be, you know, the dean of a medical school or something like that. The surgical chief is a great example because they do very tangible work in leadership, and they also have clinical and research responsibilities in academic environments, and their transitions are costly. The cost of replacing them can be $2 to $2.5 million. And I just want to mention that those numbers are based on research done by the folks at the Center for Physician Leadership Excellence. I do recommend you check out their site and learn more about the work they do because they're researchers and they do very solid work. Back to you, Joy. Thank you.
Sure. I have one for Stephanie. This question, what is the time commitment for the qualification process?
Thanks for that question. Our qualification process is a high-touch process. It's designed to gain the greatest success for both the feedback facilitator and the newly hired physician. We have 2 knowledge sessions, and those are supported also through 2 surveys where we support the facilitator through 2 survey deliveries. Those surveys are included in the price of qualification, and the total hours of commitment for the full qualification process is about 7 to 8 hours.
Stephanie, this one's for you. Now that you've called them out, the paradoxes that physicians face, it seems that it's debilitating. Why haven't we paid more attention to them till now? Why haven't they heard about them, I think is what they're asking.
So yeah, I think that's a great question. If we think about the people who go into healthcare, whether they're physicians or nurses or any of the other professions, those people are typically folks who are focused on helping other human beings to get better, be healthy, all of those kinds of things. And so people in those professions don't typically pause and find out what might be getting in their own way of health, success, organizational health, effectiveness, etc. We at Leader Onboarding, we're in the business of helping people as well. And we're in the business of helping people and organizations be effective and successful and healthy in their own way. So we've done the work to find out how they might be getting in their way and surface it in order that they can address it, find that prescription to help them figure out what to do so that it's a great experience for everyone. Thanks, Joy.
Sure. And we really don't have any more questions, but I just wanted to say that the good news is people are going to get a few minutes back of their day. I just wanted to ask Linda or Stephanie, do you have anything that you would like to say?
Definitely. I would like to thank you all for joining us in this conversation. I hope that one of your takeaways is going to be agreement that physician transitions are tougher than we may realize, or perhaps that they would be likely to acknowledge. Stephanie, how about you?
You know, we'd love to help you make physician transitions more successful. It's good for everyone. So, and I'd just really like to thank you for joining us this afternoon and being part of this event today.